my fascinating Renaissance friends, I saw this particular statement while I was just browsing uh, a book. I don't, well, not a book, a magazine. Okay, and it just struck me. I smiled, and it struck me because I said, "Are they reading me?" All right, and it says research shows first-born girls have the heart of a mother and the mind of a leader. Most are well disciplined and mature. So, welcome to episode 150, 150. We're still in reminiscing what had been, what is, and what will be. And really, this is part two of your request that I become more personal, I become more intimate, share something about my life. And I said, I just don't want to give you any narrative, but I would like to kill two birds with one stone. And that is to share with you lessons. And in the process, I open myself little by little. Okay, I started with that in episode 148. You may want to go there after listening to me. Episodes 148, followed by 149, and then, of course, 150, this. Okay, so the heart of a mother. I, very easily, I can say that because our kids, all three kids, have their own families. We have our grandchildren, and yet I still not just worry. I just think of them. I just every now and then, I ask them, "How are you?" And if I can really hack it, I visit them. Okay, I visit them. I help them with the house and things like that. This is, for mothers. Okay, for mothers, their children never really grow up. There are her little boys and little girls. Okay, and yet they're raising their own little boys and little girls. That's the heart of a mother and the mind of a leader. Agree. I always, in any endeavor, except the house. Okay, I will tell you what. In any endeavor, in any project, I call the shots. Right? People come to me. They come to me always for advice. They come to me, with the express desire to lead them, to give them direction. Okay, and they listen. Okay, and they wait for what I'll tell them. It's always been like that. Of course, in the house, totally different. My husband has been designated by the Lord, okay, to be the leader of the family. Okay, so that's very, very different. I am able to switch hats that way. But I can agree here. Now let's focus on the most are disciplined and mature. Well, this has pros and cons. You know what I mean? All right. Well, there are wonderful things about being mature and being disciplined. Okay, I told you, like there's always a statement I tell myself, right, that if I'm not feeling up to it, maybe I'm not motivated, or maybe I'm not in the mood. I would always say, "Malu, show up, just show up." It means that you don't have to be totally motivated to be able to do great things. Just show up. Okay, if you're going to finish a project, just do it the first minute until 5 minutes after that. Okay, you go, because science proves that it is called the law of momentum. A thing in motion remains in motion. A thing at rest remains at rest. Meaning, if you just don't do it, okay, you're never going to do it. But if you show up and do the first minute, do something the third minute, by 5 minutes, you are already doing 15 minutes, 30 minutes without even realizing it. Okay? So, that for me is discipline. And that for me is also mature. I've developed that. I've developed that by myself, by the way. Okay, of course, there is always encouragement, by my parents, specifically my dad. Okay, let's focus on my dad. The last episode, I told you, okay, how he, how do you call that? How he prepared me to transcend every difficulty through just a little game of his that he would put me, he would put my two little feet, okay, on his palm, and he would raise me up like that, and he would tell me to spread my wings and say the words, I can fly, I will reach the sky, and I would repeat that, okay, you know that. So he's very instrumental here, okay, the responsibility, okay, the maturity and the discipline actually came all from his expectations. Okay, let me explain. In the Philippines, okay, I'm a Filipino, in the Philippines, at least the old Philippines, traditional families, not anymore now, traditional families, they always wanted a son, for the first child. A son. Why? The son is the heir. The son is the second parent. Okay? So which means son, heir, son, second parent. Therefore, a surrogate parent who has the most authority. All the other siblings, the second, the third, the youngest, they all bow, okay, submit, okay, to the eldest son, followed, of course, by the eldest daughter. But it's always their preference, okay, to have, all right, the first, child as a son. Well, I was the first born, and I happened to be a girl. Okay, so instead of regretting it, I've seen devastated female friends, tell me that their fathers, are devastated when they found out that instead of a son they have a daughter. Okay, that didn't happen to me. Okay, so he encouraged me. So what happened is I became achievement focused because he would always be proud of me. Like, my daughter is worth more than a son because the son may not give you all of these honors, all of these, successes, unlike my daughter, Malu. He would say that. I would hear that. Well, it's very positive, isn't it? Yes, it is. It encouraged me. It pushed me harder. But it also had a very, how to call this? It's a burdensome effect on me because I realized I always have to be responsible. I always must meet his expectations, his standards, his benchmark, because I didn't want him to be embarrassed because I was less than anything that he has told his friends and his associates. Okay, so um, the first child, okay, is expected to carry the family name, not carry, well, the men, will give their names to their wives and their children, but the firstborn, daughters would need to make sure that the name of the family is never what? It's never tainted. It must have integrity. It must always have excellence, in things like that. That's how it is. Okay. Well, the sad part of it is, I always felt that I missed my entire childhood and my entire adolescence, my entire teenage, years, because I was never carefree, or maybe I thought I was never allowed to be carefree because I need to protect, I need to succeed, I need to be responsible. Okay, I need to be prim and proper. I cannot be loose and things like that. And that was very heavy on my part. In fact, okay, I remember that my mom would ever, as a little child until college. Okay, well, as a little child, because in high school I would always dress myself and all that. But this is it. Okay, um, I would wake up in the morning. My mom would bathe me and dress me up, in fancy, dresses, put shoes and socks here, but we're not going anywhere. We're just staying home. But at home, we have to be well dressed as if we're going out. We do that day in, day out, Monday to Sunday. You know, growing up, so elementary, I'm forced. Of course, high school, you think I'll be free? No, he would just say, she would just say, get up. But it's weekend, so get up, okay, fix yourself, we're used to it. But we're only staying home. Can I be with my pajamas and things like? No, you gotta be properly dressed so that anytime there are visitors, so even in high school, we would dress up, and she was the example because she was all made up. I never learned how to put makeup, but she was made up. All right, college is the same. I only got three when I was really working. Okay, but that stuck to me. So until now, I do that. Okay, second, okay, I was not allowed to go out and play with my playmate, the other children in the neighborhood, because I will dirty myself. Remember, I was dressed up. Okay, so I cannot be dirty. I cannot play with the mud, etc. Okay, I had to do piano lessons. I had to do hobbies, etc. So I never really got out and played. What a childhood, huh? What a childhood, huh? Okay, but then again, okay, the second half, because it's kind of long, okay, the second half, I will give it to you in episode 151. I guess what I'm trying to say is, there's so much expectations, and I was primed to be the best, always putting the best foot forward. Okay. Well, of course, I rebelled. Okay. And the rebellion was something else. Okay. Which I intend to share with you in episode 151. But then again, okay, I made peace with my past. Okay. I made peace with my past. Okay. I didn't hate my parents for that. In fact, little by little, I realized it was heavy then, but it has made me, okay, the strong woman that I am now. Okay, so part two of this is coming in the next episode, right? So, my dear fascinating Renaissance friends, don't forget to like and subscribe in my season of life, 60 years and beyond. And this is your friend, okay, your coach, your mentor, your fellow sojourner, saying sayonara.